walk you through how teams are transforming their incident response workflows with OpsIQ. Across IDOps, SRE, MSP, and MSSP teams and incident management roles, one challenge shows up everywhere. Alerts are growing, systems are more interconnected, and teams are expected to respond faster than ever. Through this session, we want to show you how OpsIQ brings clarity and order into that environment. We will cover the challenges teams face today, what OpsIQ offers, and then walk you through a full live demo where you can see all these capabilities in action. This session is meant to be practical and grounded in real workflows, and we hope you can take away insights you can apply immediately. Joining us today is Cam. Hi, Cam. Welcome back.
Hey,
After
Sanjay.
all the technical issues last time, it's good to have you back, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I am excited to be here, and hopefully we can do this no glitches because we got a lot of cool stuff to show.
All right, let's get started then. So, let me just quickly walk you all through the flow for today so you know what to expect. We will start by grounding ourselves in role challenges teams face during triage and dispatch. These challenges are consistent across industries, and setting that context helps the demo way more meaningful. From there, we will introduce OpsIQ and walk through the thinking behind it. You will see how it strengthens the AlertOps platform and why it was designed to streamline the areas where teams get more stuck often. Then we will move into the heart of today's session in the live demo. This is where you will see OpsIQ in action across multiple stages of the workflow. You will see how it resolves noise, guides responders, identifies false positives, surfaces historical insights, and simplifies post incident documentation. Our goal is to show the full journey from the moment an alert fires to the moment an incident is closed. After the demo, we will come back to the challenges we outlined and connect them directly to what you saw in the product. And finally, we will wrap up with key takeaways, a quick look at how to get started, and time for Q&As at the end. Before we dig deeper into the problem space, here's a little more about AlertOps and why this topic matters so much to us. AlertOps has always focused on helping teams respond faster and with more confidence. Whether your organization operates with a simple escalation flow or manages complex routing rules, multi teams handoff, and round the clock coverage, AlertOps is built to support those needs without adding friction. Our platform is used by teams running critical infrastructure, customer facing applications, distributed systems, and large service environments. These teams depend on accurate alerts, clear ownership, and timely escalations. But over time, we started seeing a trend. As systems grew, alerts multiplied, and teams became more distributed, routing alone was no longer enough. Responders needed help making sense of the signals, reducing noise, and getting to the right decision faster. This is the gap OpsIQ was created to fill. It enhances the AlertOps platform with an intelligent layer that helps teams cut through noise, gather instantly, and make confident decisions under pressure. Today's session will show you how all that comes together in real life workflows. By the end of the session, you will have a clear understanding of four important things. First, how OpsIQ helps collapse noise by grouping related alerts and turning overwhelming flood condition into clean, actionable sites. Second, how guided reasoning supports responders during triage. You will even see how newer team members gain the ability to take meaningful action without needing to escalate immediately. Third, how routing, scheduling, and historical insights become instantly available. Instead of searching for context, the system brings it to the responder at the exact time it is needed. And finally, how these improvements lead to measurable gains in MTTA and MTTR. Faster understanding, faster decisions, and faster resolutions are the foundation of a strong operational performance. And this is what OpsIQ was designed to deliver. Now, let's talk about the challenge itself. In many teams, priorities shift quickly and are not always well communicated, which creates confusion and slow responses. Manual triage and dispatch take up valuable time and distract responders from actually solving the problem. Frontline engineers deal with a high cognitive load as they sort through the noise, hunt for context, and try to interpret what matters. And finally, many steps in triage are still in manual, which increases delays and risk. These factors compound during high pressure incidents, and the result is longer timelines, inconsistent decisions, and increased fatigue. And these challenges appear in every environment we work with. The good news is they can be addressed with the right structure and the right intelligence. Let's walk through how OpsIQ will handle this in a real life triage scenario. Over to you, Cam.
Yeah, for sure, right? And before we kind of jump in, just shedding a little bit of light, just echoing off of what you'd previously said in terms of triage. The the entire purpose of triage exists in order to classify, in order to route, in order to identify what an underlying issue or alternatively the corresponding symptoms are. Obviously, maybe in a less critical context, but the same way that hospitals triage patients is the same way, or the thought process behind how technicians or engineers triage alarms, alerts, service requests, incidents. And the importance of triage initially is not simply classification for after the fact reporting. The faster and more accurately we can actually classify what the nature of an underlying issue is, the more accurately we can route it, which means there's no delay in terms of who gets it because you know specifically what the underlying cause is, or alternatively, at least the underlying symptom. So it's more than from a reporting, it's more than purely just from a process standpoint to analyze and improve after the fact, but in real time, triage impacts individuals and impacts an organization because the faster you triage, the faster you get the right responders, the right information to be able to address the issue. So with that said, there's a lot of cool things that AlertOps has done, as you know, with IntelliFields. So I'll jump in and I'll kind of talk through what that really looks like and how it streamlines operations. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So for those of you watching that are AlertOps customers, you're already aware of this. This is the AlertOps dashboard, your entry point as a single user in terms of what's going on in your environment at any given time. But let's jump into a specific alert, right? And for anyone that's curious, or if you see things that are not enabled in your environment, it's probably OpsIQ. So reach out to your account manager, or alternatively, if you're tuning in for the first time and learning what AlertOps is, definitely reach out to sales or myself or Sanjay on LinkedIn. We're always happy to have a discussion. So when we talk about an alert generally stems from a monitoring, ticketing, or alternatively human submitted request. From an ITOM perspective and an ITSM perspective, events and alerts are classified as things that are signals. Events are generally signals that are detected in order to identify some breach of a policy or some excessive value beyond a specific threshold, CPU usage, or alternatively power kicked off and the UPS didn't kick in. So here's a sample of an alert, one that was triggered from a monitoring tool. So we here initially see core uplink degradation on this core networking with the corresponding IP. When we scroll down to see what our alert insights look like, we have a few out-of-the-box agents, right? Reasoning agents, when coupled with our workflow automation, really do take an agentic approach in terms of how we can triage, classify, as well as dispatch the information. When we say dispatch, obviously AlertOps bread and butter is dispatching to the user, the last mile of communication between systems and people. But beyond that, dispatching to your system of record. Most organizations have invested very, very heavily within their ITSM, their PSA, any ticketing system, because it truly constitutes what is their single pane of glass. If it doesn't exist there, it doesn't exist, period. In the same way, a well-functioning sales or marketing organization, if it doesn't exist in the CRM, it doesn't exist. So one is the ability to actually triage, but then beyond that is the ability to transmit the information into a system of record that's actually meaningful and catches the eye of individuals faster. So what you're seeing here are a few out of the box ones. So Agent Fix It. It's going to give you 4 to 5 concrete steps in terms of how you can go about possibly mitigating or remediating the action and then mitigating it going forward. Root cause, based on the alert details that have been summarized from the monitoring tool that you capture. What was the root cause? And then context. Give it a human readable message. When it's 2 a.m. and you're waking up, you're on call, having a bunch of numbers and thresholds that have been breached are virtually impossible. I know if I wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm still blurry-eyed, I'm not going to be able to understand what the hell is going on. So being able to consolidate rather complex metrics into a human readable format. So at bare minimum, when I'm woken up at 2 a.m., I know, oh, okay, so something's going on with core networking. I need to take a look, right? It gives me direction before I'm clear. Now, signal check. The more infrastructure an organization has, the more false positives they have, right? There's the more points of failure they have. So oftentimes engineers get overzealous in terms of what they're monitoring and to what thresholds those monitors should start making noise. Out of paranoia, rightfully so. But that also quite frequently lends way into false positives. So all of these fields that you see here are in fact configurable. And as a matter of fact, you can use your own. They leverage a combination of alert ops notifications as well as context that's provided by alert ops, your monitoring, your ticketing systems, along with a backend that is assimilating this data and processing it using LLMs along with your instructions. So it's not a generic output. You are providing your SOPs to make those determinations and make those determinations faster, as a matter of fact. Now, we'll take ServiceNow as an example because that's a common ITSM platform that people generally integrate with AlertOps. Here we have a ticket, right? A ticket that was created, in fact, by AlertOps. A monitoring tool detected core networking degradation, kicked it into AlertOps. Based on the information that AlertOps received along with the instructions from the SOPs that the business has defined, it was able to determine what should the priority be based on impact and urgency. What assignment group should it go to? What service is actually being impacted? And then create the alert. The cool thing is there's a lot of information in here, but in order to truly make an incident response or response process effective, whether it's incidents or service requests for that matter, you need to be able to see it where you can easily access it. So AlertOps doesn't simply contain that information to perform the corresponding insights within itself, but it also transmits that information directly to your system of record. Now, I know I'm showing you ServiceNow, but this is doable with ConnectWise, with Zendesk, with Jira, with Autotask. Pretty much an ITSM or PSA, you name it, you can do it. So from this standpoint, all of a sudden, what someone would have taken 15, 20 minutes to previously recognize, identify, go into 3 different systems, pull information, create a ticket, and then analyze where that ticket should go, assign it a service and an assignment group, so then they can start working on it. So 5 minutes minimum, but 15 minutes quite frequently now has been cut down to a matter of seconds. And 15 minutes might not seem like a lot, but I'm sure a lot of you watching are familiar with Gartner and Forrester's estimates of what an outage impact cost really is to an average size business. Previously, it was $5,600 a minute, and that doesn't account for enterprises, right? That is a smattering of sizes of companies. So a mid-sized company might be 5,600, and now with the advent of AI and the amount of digital services that have increased in the last few years, just last year, that number is bumped up to over $9,000 per minute. So if you're an enterprise with over $100 million worth of revenue, 9,000 is probably not even close to how much of an outage or how much of an impact an outage would cost you per minute. Even from an SMB context, whether it's $10,000 a minute or alternatively $1,000 a minute, scalability is important. From an SMB context, from an MSP context, reliability and customer satisfaction is critical. So the faster you resolve it, the happier the customer is and the less time they're unhappy for. There's a PwC released a study quite a while ago, and this has been backed up numerous times. 1 out of 3 bad experiences with web application, website, or service provider will immediately cause the corresponding customer or prospect to leave. So whether on the SMB side, it is customer service, or alternatively on the enterprise side, widespread top-line revenue loss, there's an SLA breach, and being able to consolidate the time to which an incident is recognized and responders are assembled is fairly critical. So that's one of the biggest pieces in terms of triage that really we've been able to optimize and automate using IntelliFields and OpsIQ.
So what we just saw right now addresses the core challenges of what we had outlined earlier. Instead of relying on tribal knowledge, Fixit provides structured steps that help responders take the right actions without needing to escalate. And Signal Check reduces the time wasted on false positives, which is one of the biggest sources of frustrations and slowdowns. Prioritize also brings consistency to dispatch, which helps team avoid unclear or subjective judgment calls. All of these reduce the cognitive load and help uh, responders move from analysis to action faster, which is where the real gains are. Let's spend a moment on one challenge every teams face, not just alerts, but alert floods that show up all at once. A single issue often triggers several tools and dependent services to fire alerts at the same time. Responders open their consoles into 20 or 30 notifications, and everything looks urgent. The problem is not just the volume alone, it is also the time lost figuring out which alerts belong together, which are symptoms, which are root causes, and which can be safely ignored. While responders are sorting through that, the SLA clock is already ticking. Noise also leads to misroutes. Alerts get sent to the wrong teams, slowing down the path to resolution and adding to fatigue. This creates a bottleneck before any problem solving before even begins. Responders spend their initial minutes cleaning up the signal instead of acting on it. This is exactly where OpsIQ's smart correlation engine makes a big difference. By grouping related alerts together and by reducing noise upfront, responders begin with clarity instead of confusion.
Yeah, I mean, so Sanjay, let me ask you something, right? Do you ever log in to Teams and some days it's just okay, the second everyone sees that you're green, it's rapid fire. Ping, 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 right? And you're like, oh shit, where do I start? Right?
Where do I start? What do I pick out immediately?
And
Yeah.
quite frankly, that's what I relate this to, right? I mean, having experienced both scenarios, whether it be from a system standpoint or alternatively just a messaging standpoint, a lot of the times I turn off iMessage. I'll go one by one in my own time, just because it's very difficult to prioritize when everything is on fire, right? And you don't know which fire to put out first. So correlation and noise reduction is definitely a huge benefit, but the underlying problem is alert fatigue, right? And from a response perspective, oftentimes organizations talk about we need to meet our SLAs faster. So we need to correlate, we need to consolidate, we need to reduce noise. But an important piece that a lot of organizations really don't pay attention to is technician, engineering, and on-call lifestyle, right? Alert fatigue kills you, right? And having been someone that has experienced on-call, and during an alert flood, it is crazy, especially in the middle of the night. You're being woken up and you're addressing something, but when everything is firing at the exact same time, not only are you groggy-eyed and trying to figure out where it's coming from, but you're also just overloaded. Now, if that happens 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, the quality of life of those people that you're depending on to maintain system uptime is substantially degraded, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, let me jump right in, right? So give me 1 second here. I'll share my screen again. Cool. So let's go back into that same alert that we were taking a look at, right? So we have our alert, we have all of our reasoning agents, and then within ServiceNow, we've got the AI incident analysis that'll give you a quick update in terms of what's going on. Is it real? What's the actual priority? Where is it coming from? But the next piece that I want to touch on is the actual alerts in itself. So if you see here, once again, you've got our parent alert. And everything that came in afterwards, based on your configuration, we see that it's merged, meaning that these are, while they're still recorded, there's a record of this occurrence happening, and you have an audit trail to follow. It doesn't necessarily prevent you from being able to action the one that matters. Understanding that, yes, there's 41 things going on, but realistically, 40 of them are related to the one. it reduces the noise so you can focus better, right? And once again, that's another overlooked piece. The second, ding, 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 the human psychology element of being overloaded by notifications and not being able to truly focus on the one that you are working on, the alarm that you're working on, or the event that you're looking into, is critical. So it's not simply optimizing a process and being able to automate your reporting downstream, but it truly is alleviating the stressors to the responder that's causing alert fatigue and preventing them from responding faster. So, in the same capacity that we have the ability to automatically merge, as you know, we have the ability to write to third-party ticketing systems in the same capacity of ServiceNow, ConnectWise, Autotask, Halo, whatever it looks like, whether it is a service desk tool, an ITSM, a PSA, we're going to be able to write back to it bidirectionally. And so we covered this, right? The fields that were classified, the corresponding AI incident report for the corresponding triage. But then let's take a look at our notes section. And once again, this is pretty much available with any ticketing system AlertOps integrates with. You see a list of corresponding merged along with the details of the alarm. And there's a few different ways that this can actually be done. One, you can have it merged into notes like the way that I have. And a lot of organizations prefer it that way so that they have a single incident record. Now, from an ITOM perspective, as opposed to purely ITIL and ITSM, individuals want an independent record to exist. Those independent records exist as discrete alarms within AlertOps, as we see here. So if you'd like, we can create parent and child relationships between incidents directly or alternative events directly within your ticketing system to optimize your reporting downstream too. So it's really flexible enough to operationalize according to how your business performs, as well as how your business functions on a day-to-day in terms of pulling information, as well as consolidating it into identifying where the underlying cause came from and what was related to it. But beyond that, as we talked about, biggest thing is noise. Cutting down noise allows people to work faster, smarter, and identify where the underlying problem is more quickly. Faster you know what the problem is, faster you can get to work on resolving the problem.
So what you guys just saw is one of the most impactful capabilities in OpsIQ. The smart correlation engine condenses 20 or 30 alerts into a single actionable incident. Similarly, it uses scoring, weighted fields, and time windows to produce accurate groupings. Responders start with cleaner information, fewer distractions, and a clear sense of what matters. This improves MTTA, reduces misroutes, and helps teams stay focused. Another challenge many teams deal with is the reliance on tribal knowledge. Details about past incidents often live in someone's memory or scattered messages, and they are difficult to access when the issue happens again. This leads to repeated work. Responders spend time reinvestigating problems that were already solved because the context was never captured or surfaced. It also creates delays when people who remember the fix are unavailable. OpsIQ changes this by surfacing similar past incidents and showing their resolutions. Responders immediately see what worked, who handled it, and what steps were taken. Instead of starting from scratch, they start with context, which helps speed up triage and reduces repeated effort.
Yeah, 100%, right? And when we're talking about like tribal knowledge, let's kick it back just for a second to what we just saw, correlation, right? There's quite frequently one alert that goes off for the same customer, and then all of a sudden another series of alerts that go off for the same customer. And over time, right, and this is something that we didn't necessarily cover, over time, a pattern emerges, a pattern that might not be as visible to human eyes, except for the guy that fixed it the last time. And that's one of the cool things about the way that we actually correlate incidents. You have a baseline to start. It leverages NLP weightages and keywords as well as rules to kickstart your correlation process. And then unsupervised learning allows you to learn over time to determine, hey, the last 7 times this happened, this has been the primary incident. The more and more you interact with AlertOps, the better and better it gets at identifying your business and your corresponding infrastructure. So now coming back to the notion of tribal knowledge, you have one alert here for a particular service and one alert here or 5 alerts here that you don't know why it's happening. You think that they're completely separate, isolated events. The problem is sometimes it can be related, right? Sometimes they're not completely isolated. And the fact that there is one guy with 17 years of experience in your company that the last 3 times it's happened and fixed it, and then thrown some generic resolution notes in your ticketing system. So now you're reworking the logic behind, okay, well, this happened, and that leads to this, and this leads to that, and that leads to this. So 15-minute SLAs for acknowledgement might be possible, but response SLAs are shot at that point, right? You're not going to be able to identify the core of the issue, especially when you have to rework an issue that's previously been solved again and again and again. So that's one of the ways that AlertOps helps out, right? One is the actual learning model, but then beyond that, it also uses historical alert insights to be able to try and provide a little bit of context based on the last few times something has happened. So let me go ahead and show you guys what that looks like. So when we're taking a look at our alert again, right, here we had our merge alerts. Here up at the top, we have past alert insights, right? It gives you a brief summary in terms of, has something like this happened in the past? What's the similarity percentage if it has? Then on top of that, what are the list of alerts? How long did they last? How quickly were they resolved? Who closed it last time? Sometimes if notes are bad and documentation is bad, at bare minimum, knowing who to poke in a large organization is enough for you to be able to get a leg up in terms of how to respond with the problem. Another benefit to this is the fact that you have a reference of previous incidents that were that previously existed as well. So if you need to look at a corresponding postmortem or an alert timeline, or alternatively the details of the alarm when it came in, or what threshold was breached, you have easy access to do that. Manual searching doesn't seem like a hard concept, but it's a time-consuming concept. By the time you go between your monitoring tool, your ticketing tool, your alerting tool, your reporting tool, your documentation tool, and try to consolidate the information you need to be able to take a intelligent next step in terms of either identifying the root cause of the issue or alternatively beginning remediation, it is ultimately a time suck. At a certain point, being able to consolidate the information, track it over time, as well as build operational intelligence, not just as a byproduct of a system, but as an organization, as a byproduct of your organizational processes. That not only reduces your risk of breaching SLAs, but it improves the way your organization functions between your tools across your stack and with different teams as well. So this, in the same way we had previously shown, can also be written back to pretty much any ticketing system, so you have it in your system of record, but being able to quickly identify, hey, yeah, this happened last month 2 times on the 2nd and the 10th, and Adam from the network team actually responded both times and was able to resolve it. There's not clear notes, but I can quickly reach out to Adam. Or alternatively, this happened 6 times in the last 7 months, and there's clear documentation, but scattered across 7 different places. Now you have it consolidated. So the more easily accessible information is, and that's what AlertOps truly provides, being able to consolidate the information, the faster an individual can get to the point of resolving.
All right, now let's take a look at how teams carry that value forward after an incident is resolved. Postmortems are important, but they often get delayed or written inconsistently. OpsIQ removes friction by generating a structured draft automatically with the key details already captured. This standardizes documentation and makes future references way easier. It supports ongoing learning, internal reviews, audit readiness without adding workload.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So exactly what we were talking about. If you have tribal knowledge everywhere, then at a certain point, it becomes almost impossible to truly identify exactly where something's coming from and how to resolve it. So, in the same vein of being able to consolidate documentation and reference information, AlertOps has built out the ability, similar to IntelliFields, to leverage AI-based postmortems. So if you see in the same alert, I've gone ahead and closed it, and the postmortem is cool. When I say it's cool, I mean that it's accurate. It is not just AI making up some random or generic information based on the validity and the accuracy of the information between your monitoring, your ticketing, and your analytics tools, your documentation tools that are captured within the context of the alert, along with your definition of how an issue summary should be written, how a description should be written, how an impact should be written, what was the probable root cause, along with action items, lessons learned. You can create your own fields for any one of these. Now, one of the benefits of this, beyond just having documentation internally for an organization, cybersecurity incidents. If you are an unfortunate victim of a breach, at that point, you really need to know what happened, how it happened, and when it happened, more specifically, so that your insurance provider is willing to go ahead and concede that corresponding payout. So having this has actually helped a lot of AlertOps customers in the case of any cybersecurity breach, not only based on the alerting and notification and triage, detect it earlier, but also mitigate it faster and provide a system of record or a certificate of record almost that shows, hey, we did all the right things, right? There's bad actors everywhere, but we did the right stuff that we needed to in order to mitigate and isolate this threat as quickly as possible. So there's multiple benefits beyond just really tribal knowledge. So beyond simply editing and viewing an AlertOps, like I'd mentioned, this can be written to any other system of record, and it can also be exported so that way you have written documentation. You can put it in your Confluence, you can put it in your IT Glue, whatever you so choose.
All right, so let's bring this all together. Just a second, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
All right, so OpsIQ helps us reduce noise and speed up triage. It improves accuracy and consistency across dispatching. It empowers L1 engineers with guidance that shortens resolution times, and it helps teams operate with clarity rather than building chaos. With these key takeaways in mind, let's uh, get started with. Let's take a look at what we can do to get started with OpsIQ. I think Cam would be a better person to walk us through this part of the.
Yeah, no, of course, right? So from this context that we're looking at, when you get in order to get started with OpsIQ, it's pretty simple, right? It's just a matter of defining how you want your process to look. And I say this to anyone of our customers, along with anyone that's willing to listen. A tool is simply a tool without a process, right? In order for it to provide value to your business, you need to truly evaluate what your business process looks like. How do you want things to be triaged? Is there a difference between your security incidents as well as possibly your infrastructure incidents as a byproduct of how they should be remediated? Yes, of course. But how and when should teams be engaged? How and when should teams be provided information? So the first step truly is getting with your AlertOps account manager or our solutions team, and we'll deep dive into what your process is, and we will look at how exactly and where exactly within that process OpsIQ can fit. As far as going any step beyond that, if you want to play around with it, it's pretty simple. You set up your integrations, you set up your instructions for the AI in terms of IntelliFields, as well as your baseline NLP weightages. It takes minutes, quite frankly, if not seconds, depending on how quick you're at clicking. But you can get going pretty quickly. But in order to provide the most value, reaching out to our team so that we can provide some consultation around, hey, this is what your process looks like. Here are the reasonable areas that we can inject OpsIQ. Maybe you have an 8-step workflow for incident response. So it doesn't make sense for OpsIQ to jump in at step 1. but it does at step 3, at 6, and at 8. So being able to analyze where and how it drives the most value is critical. So I definitely recommend reaching out to our team. But if you want to play around with it, reach out to either myself, Sanjay, or sales@alertops.com. Or if you're an existing customer, your account manager, and we can get you up and running pretty quick.
All right, guys, we would love to take your questions about use cases, setup, integration options, or anything else you would like to explore. Like Cam had mentioned, if you want a deeper look at how OpsIQ fits into your environment, we also offer follow-up demo sessions that are tailored to your workflows. And our team is always ready to help you with workflows designed around your operational needs. Feel free to take this time to send questions through the chat or ask them live, and we will take the time to answer them for you.
Doesn't look like we got too many questions. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, in that case, thank you guys for hopping in. Really appreciate it. Definitely join us for the next one, and feel free to reach out, connect with us, ask any questions that you might have. And if you're interested in a demo, go to our website, request a demo, or reach out to sales@alertops.com. Sanjay, a pleasure as always, man.
Cam, thank you so much for joining this session and helping everyone walk through how we can make the best use of OpsIQ. Thanks, guys, for joining in. And you can reach us at any time you want, and we can help you figure out how to set this up best for your environment.